Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel for Tarot Tuesday. I am Sarah the Rainbow Hearted Witch, and this week I will be doing an unboxing from a very indie tarot deck. I haven't opened this yet and I have not seen what the cards look like, so I'm really excited. We've been home for about a week. We took a month-long vacation. We drove cross-country to Vermont to visit my family. And we stopped in Austin, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana, Asheville, North Carolina, and then in Vermont, we went to Amherst, Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, and Salem, Massachusetts. We also went to Hampton Beach in New Hampshire, Rye Beach in New Hampshire, and just drove around New Hampshire. We went to Concord, New Hampshire to take pictures of the state capitol. We also drove up to Portland, Maine, just so my husband could say he's been to Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. While we were there, we just had lunch and we walked to up here and we got to see a seal swimming around. He was so cute. So I will be doing individual videos about each location. And I will be doing, after I read this was produced by the Emily Dickinson Museum. So I picked up this little booklet with Emily's, some of her poems. And we just had a really good time walking around and seeing her birthplace. She was born and died in the same home. And unfortunately, her brother Austin's home was closed for renovation, but I would have loved to have seen his home. His home looked gorgeous. So we just took pictures from the outside, and I got some pictures of Emily's home. And we learned a lot. We learned a lot about Emily, that she did not follow the rules of poetry of her time, and she didn't really use the same punctuation. And she also has multiple versions of the same poem with different words. And so they're not really sure which version is the one that she wanted. So a lot of her poems, they stated, were heavily edited by editors, posthumously after her death. Have you guys watched Dickinson on Apple Plus TV? I loved season 1. I love the magical realism and just learning about Emily's life. Now, season 2, they take some liberties, especially with her sexuality. They don't really know if she was a lesbian or not. I mean, she never got married, but yeah, they just don't know her sexuality because that wasn't really, a thing that people talked about. And the way that friendships, especially among women, was just very different back then. So yes, she wrote Sue thousands of letters, and Sue, that was her husband's wife. They had been friends growing up, and Emily sent Sue a lot of her poetry because she respected Sue. Sue was just as intelligent and just vivacious as Emily. So Emily just really respected Sue and wanted her opinion on editing and how the poem should be. So I think, they just had a really good friendship where, they had mutual respect for each other. And Sue kept her letters and poems that Emily sent her. And that's a lot of where the 1800 poems that Emily has written have come from, is from Sue's collection. So they have most of, probably the letters that Emily wrote to Sue. I'm not sure about other people. She met a lot of people at Sue's parties that she liked to throw. And before Emily became a recluse, she would attend those parties and discuss poetry and art and all of those things, and meet influential people. A few of her poems were published. I think they said it was like only 6 in her lifetime. But can you imagine 6 out of 1800? Emily she really liked to write in her room and garden I didn't realize she was a naturalist. She liked to, she had books and collected samples of local species. And so she had a garden, and she loves, nature and trees. And we saw a tree that was planted, and I think it's the tree that was in one of the episodes where she was upset that the town wanted to cut it down, and they saved it, and it's big and beautiful. So I'm gonna read this. I haven't read it yet. It's pretty short. Let's see, it's just 44 pages, so it should be quick reading, and then I'll do a review on this. But my husband saw this, and I was just like, it's a tarot deck of Emily Dickinson from the Emily Dickinson Museum. Oh my goodness. Now it was cool. On the linen bags, they had one that had a skull stamped on it, and then there was a different type of tree. So they had different ones. I got this one for the tree with it looks like a weeping willow. So I'm going to do an unboxing. Like I said, there wasn't really samples, and I don't really know what these cards look like, so I'm going to be as surprised as you guys. So let me open this up. Here's the price. It was $24.95. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's a booklet. Okay, there's a little write-up. Let's see. Oh, okay. So these are the backs of the cards. Muted colors. Kind of looks like nature. The cards are very, very flimsy. They're almost like paper. All right, let's read the acknowledgements. Acknowledgements. Some new equation given, but what of that? Emily Dickinson. Further vision, skills, and love of poetry, mystery, color line, light and shadow, thoughtfulness, depths, heights, and generous ways. The making of this deck by Phoebe Harris, Emily Pettit, Bianca Stone, Haley Thompson, and Halie Theoharides bring with it attention to paying attention as an aspect of understanding and love. Thanks to Faith Seddon for carefully working with us, and for Pam Glavin for lending us her eyes, and to Michael Medeiros for instigating its occasion, and to Emily Dickinson for her words and spirit. There's an uncanny way by which poetry enters and tells us about ourselves. Therefore, its words echo, rebound, and never end. And so this was produced by FactoryHollowsPress.com. I have an errand eminent to an adjoining zone. And then we have so Phoebe Harris did the swords. She is an illustrator living and working in Northampton, Massachusetts. Emily Pettit, Pentacles, lives in Northampton, Massachusetts, where she edits for Factory Hollow Press. Her book, Goat in the Snow, comes from Birds, LLC. Bianca Stone created the Wands, is a poet and artist who lives in Brooklyn. Halie Theoharides, Major Arcana, lives in Western Massachusetts and studies poetry, wildlife, and other mysteries. Her favorite insects are dragonflies and damselflies. Never heard of damselflies. I'm going to have to look that up. I love dragonflies as well. Haley Rene Thompson did the cups, is a maker who studies poetry in the MFA for Poets and Writers, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. She lives above a suspect antique shop in Northampton, Massachusetts. Of both, she is fond. So it's really interesting because before the show Dickinson came out, I wasn't really necessarily like the biggest poet lover. I do love Edward Waldo Emerson. He was like my favorite. And then, of course, in college you had to take some poetry classes. But I didn't really know much about Emily and her life. And It's funny because I went and looked at University of Massachusetts Amherst, and that was my backup college. But I didn't even notice if the museum, I don't know if it was around, I'm not sure when the museum opened. This would have been back in the 90s that I went and looked at the school. I started looking at colleges in 7th grade, I think. I started doing tours. But yeah, I ended up going to college in DC, which was a lot of fun. Anyway, here is the Fool card. So it's really great that they use insects and bugs, especially since Emily really cared a lot about the natural world. Here is the Magician, the Mantis. So it's interesting. I bet she has books because she collected species and artifacts and plants and things. It was really cool during the tour. We got to, see what was in the house. They had it marked what was there when Emily lived there, what was a reproduction, and then also what the show donated. The cast and crew went and did a tour. They did not film it in that house, but they did a tour and took measurements and tried to recreate as close to the house as possible for filming of the show. And the only thing that the show, I'm surprised that they didn't do it. Emily Dickinson actually was a redhead. Who knew? I mean, really? Like, she had red hair? I'm really surprised. Because, in the pictures, it came out black, but I guess the one photo of her is really, it's like a black and white. So it made everyone look like they had, black hair. So while we were in town, we just walked around. They had, cute little shops and restaurants. We ate at a little Thai restaurant. They had seating outside, which was nice. It was a pretty beautiful fall day in Amherst. We were lucky. We had a lot of nice days in New England, and I think the day we were leaving, it was raining. Yeah, the day we left, it was raining really hard. But once we got over the Killington Mountain, it stopped. So once we hit the western side of the state, the rain ended, which was really nice. And we had clear travels. But then I heard that a lot of the northeastern states started getting snow. So it's like we left just in time. It was getting too cold. Like, I told my parents we can never visit New England in fall again. Maybe September, and like for the month of September. September is still beautiful in New England. You can have, 90-degree days in New England, especially southern New England. By October, it's crazy. The weather can be all over the place. You could have a 70-degree day one day, and then the next it's like 50 degrees and raining. Now, okay, so this is Ace of Cups, House of Cups. Okay, that's interesting. Brother of Swords. Okay, so I went through the swords, which I'm not really seeing what the theme is on the swords. And these cards are way too abstract. I won't ever use these for a reading because I don't connect with them. I'm not sure what they're trying to convey. And it doesn't look like anything's really in order. Okay, so it's interesting that the House of Cups, they're like, okay, now you're in the cups. This is blue, but then when I go to Two of Cups, it's orange again. So that's really confusing. But I do like, it looks like this is probably part of or one of her poems. Spirit cannot be moved by flesh. It must be moved by spirit. It is strange that the most intangible is the heaviest, but joy and gravitation have their own ways. My ways are not your ways. I love how Emily writes about emotions and feelings and life and death, and they're so angsty. Like, I used to write poetry in high school, and my English teacher hated my poetry. He's like, it's so angsty and bleh. And I'm like, well, I'm a teenage girl. What do you want from me? He told me that my artwork was way more poetic than my poetry, and to stick with art. Anyway. And then the Three of Cups. So I like that the hands are here, and I like that it's the poetry, because the cups are about emotions and feelings and almost like your shadow, like what's hidden, like deep subconscious, you know? So I'm liking the cups, even though the first card threw me off, but I'm liking that it has the hands cupped and then her poetry. The cups, I'm vibing with the cups. I like it. Except this, I can't really read her handwriting. But I like when I type it up. It looks like they've taken some of, like for 8 of Cups, it looks like they've taken stuff from her letters as well. Because it says, the Bible says, and then it's cut off, that the wayfaring man, though a fool, need not err therein, need the wayfaring woman. Ask your throbbing scripture. It may surprise you. I speak of God. I know him but little, but Cupid taught Jehovah to many and untouted. That's interesting. And then we have this one for the 9. It is joy to be with you, because near I love you. Nature makes distinction as late as tonight. I do not know the happy through toward you, like a sigh I have too long. And then the 10. All right, so for cups, it looks like it says garden cups. So now we're in the garden. This is interesting. So we have sister of cups, brother of cups, and then we have the ace. Luck is not chance. Now these don't look like cups now. This looks like wands. But is this what they're doing for cups? No. What are we in? I'm sorry, guys. Oh, okay. So these are supposed to be like the court cards. So garden, sister, and brother. And then now we're in another. We have ace of, maybe these are wands. Yeah, these look like the wands. Saying nothing sometimes says the most. Or these swords, because this looks like it could be a sword card. No, it looks like the wands. These look like wands for sure. So this one, I don't like that it's the wand, but it says bring me the sunset in a cup. That's confusing. So the court cards are garden, sister, and brother. So that's interesting. Instead of, you know, so they're missing one though, because usually it's knight, page, princess, or knight, page, queen, and king. So yeah, they're missing. I mean, it just depends on the deck. The thought is different, but they only have garden. Oh, I guess maybe. So it goes house, garden, sister, and brother. Okay, they have them all. All right, and now we're in the final suit. We have Ace of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles, 4, 5, and then we have sister brother. So house, so garden, house, sister, brother. Whew, that was complicated. Yeah, so this will definitely just be a collector's item and just something I have. I won't even try to do readings with them. I mean, I'm so confused just in the flip through that I wouldn't even try. There's not any real symbolism in these cards. I like the idea of it, but I'm also not a fan of when the artists make the art look like a child did it. I much prefer cleaner artwork than this. But it's a cool, like the majors aren't bad. Like I don't mind that. But the rest of it looks like I could have done that in 6th grade. I don't know. It's really not my artistic style. And the cardstock, like I said, is just, it's literally paper. So these would fall apart really quick. So this is just going to be a collector's that I'll look at, you know, maybe. So the majors are okay. I understand why they did that for the majors. And I like the one where they have her poetry, the cups or chalices. I enjoyed having that. And I kind of wish they either stuck with the same artist who did the majors and did the poetry on here, because that makes more sense to me than the rest. But let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, and if you've watched Dickinson. If you guys have not seen it on Apple Plus, I totally recommend getting Apple Plus for, you know, a free trial, or I don't know if they offer that, or pay for it for 1 month and watch, you know, at least the first season. But you'll be hooked. You're gonna watch, you know, the rest. I did not love season 2 as much as I loved season 1. Like I was so in love with season 1. I just love Emily's spirit, and she was kind of a rebel, and you know, she didn't want to be a homemaker, and she just wanted to write and be in nature. And I totally understand that. You know, they talked about in the tour, you know, she was privileged. She came from a privileged family. She, you know, and she had her mother and a little sister who picked up a lot of the slack for her. Plus they had servants. So they didn't have as much work as, you know, if she was born from a lower station in life. So she really did have the freedom to be able to spend her days writing or being out in nature, collecting the specimens. And she received a really good education, and she never, you know, declared her faith. She said she believed in God, but she didn't, you know, and that resonates so much to me. You know, I definitely believe in a supreme being. And unfortunately, I was forced to go through confirmation for Catholicism, but I'm not a practicing Catholic. I can't do it. I understand my mother's reasoning for making me join the church, because some mythical, maybe one day you'll marry a Catholic and you'll want to get married in the Catholic Church. You don't want to have to take CCD all over again. Yeah, I get that, you know, but being raised in 2 churches was an interesting experience. My mother's family is Protestant, definitely Puritans. I used to joke with her. In another video, with the one I do about Salem, I'll be talking about my ancestor, Susanna North Martin, from my mother's side. She is one of the women who was hanged for witchcraft. And it was not because she was a witch. None of those Puritan women and men who died during the hysteria were witches. Unfortunately, she was just a very outspoken and determined woman who did not keep her mouth quiet. She was not a shrinking violet, and she was the largest landowner in the colony. She pissed a lot of men off. So they had accused her 3 previous times of witchcraft. It was always dismissed, or, you know, nothing ever happened because her husband was still alive. Unfortunately, during the witch hysteria, she was a widow, and she had no one to defend her. And of course, the town came up because they seized her land and then they built a road through it. So I visited her marker, not on this trip, but 6 years ago. And I got pictures, and I've read, there was a book written by another ancestor or descendant of hers. And so I'll be discussing that in another video. I love New England in fall. It is gorgeous. It is so beautiful. And we were so blessed that the foliage this year was almost like, it was so vibrant. It was almost like neon reds and oranges and yellow. And it was beautiful. And we did a lot of leaf peeping. And, you know, my husband, who is from Los Angeles, has never experienced that before. So it was really fun sharing that with him. And we drank a lot of apple cider and ate my mom's apple pie, which is the best. No one makes apple pie like her. And everything is so festive. Like a lot of the towns in New Hampshire, they put scarecrows out and pumpkins, and it's just really, I love it. I love the pumpkins and scarecrows. And my mom had us doing crafts. We painted this and some witch hats, and we did carve a pumpkin, and my dad gave us a hayride, which I've talked about in a previous video, how I used to throw parties. And one year for Halloween, he dressed up as Igor, and he gave us hay rides, and it was like the party that everyone talked about for the school year, and it was so much fun. So he didn't dress up, but we decorated the, what would you call it? Like not the tractor, but the part that's attached to the tractor with the hay. We decorated that with decorations and garland, and we had a hayride in our backyard. So that was a lot of fun, just a lot of nostalgia. And Nikolai's never experienced a hayride before, and he had fun. So that was like, it was really cool, you know? But it was just so cold, just from the way that we booked the vacation. It was like back to back to back to back. So it was just a lot. We probably won't go back to, like I said, to New England that late in the season. We were there the last week of September, and then the first week, and then we had to extend it. It was almost like 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of October. So we were only supposed to be there the first week, in the last week of September and the first week of October. And those weeks were fine. It was that second week that it got a little chilly, but that's when the leaves were gorgeous. So, you know, as Cindy Rhodes stated, you know, just for today. And that's really how we should have planned our trip, was just for today. Go with the flow. There's a lot of things you can't prepare for. And I will talk about that in another video. I'm going to do a tips for traveling cross country, because I've driven cross country. This is, I think, my 6th time. Yeah, I've done it a few times. And it is exhausting. And even though it's been a week, we are still tired. It took about 5 days to not be still on East Coast time. I think we're finally there, but yeah, we're still kind of tired. And, you know, we didn't fly, but we're still a little like jet lagged. We had fun, and I will stop rambling now, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, guys. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my video. I had so much fun uploading it. I upload videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Check them out. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to support this channel monetarily. So the links are down below, and I will see you all next week. Bye guys.